From the smallest to the largest of networks, we're going to see routers and switches. Oh my. That's right. Routers and switches are going to be present in all of these networks. In this critical live lesson, we're going to take a look at the setup of a typical router or a switch. There are key ingredients that we want to make sure we encompass when we initially bootstrap this device for the network, and this video is going to go through those critical steps for you. You don't want to miss this live lesson on the setup of these routers and switches, since as we know, these devices are going to help form the lifeblood of your modern network infrastructure. Make some key mistakes in their setup, and the entire network operation will suffer. In this section of our Network Plus Video Mentor series, we are going to discuss the initial setup of a router or a switch. And we're going to use some of the most popular devices in order to demonstrate this. It's our Cisco devices. Now, understand something. Great news for you. When it comes to our Cisco routers and switches, they're going to utilize an operating system that is made to be identical. It's not completely identical, obviously, between a router and a switch because they have some different functions on the network. But as far as the commands go that we're going to enter in to initially set them up, they are identical. So great news on this topic. We don't have to relearn anything as we move from a router to a switch or a switch to a router when it comes to the initial setup of these particular devices. Let's go ahead and take a look at a sample topology that we'll play with here to demonstrate this initial setup. Notice we have R1 and R2, and we're going to go in and make sure they have connectivity with each other over the 192.168.1 circuit. All right, well, let's go for it. Let's go over to R1. Notice it's going to be the fast Ethernet 0/0 interface that we are going to utilize on each device. Let's go over to the R1 device and let's give it a name. Notice we enter privilege mode with the enable command. In fact, I did that quick. Let me show you that again. So we are in the user mode on the device. We're going to enter privilege mode on the device with the enable command. And then we're going to go into global configuration mode. This is where we can make changes that are globally going to affect the device. We use the hostname command to give this device a recognizable name, in this case R1. And then let's think about some security on this device. Let's go ahead and provide an enable secret password, and we always use the password of Cisco here in our labs so that we can't just easily get into that privilege mode anymore. Also, as far as this console port goes that we're working with, let's make sure that there is a password set there as well, and that this password is checked when people initially log into the device. Great, so we've added a measure of security here. Now we want to go into that interface, the fast Ethernet 0/0 interface, and we want to apply the IP address, 192.168.1.1, and we can't forget about our subnet mask, which was provided in this case a /24. Now on Cisco routers, these interfaces default to a shutdown state. They're administratively shut down, so we correct that with the no shutdown command. Now notice we get status indications that the physical layer of this interface has come up and the data link layer of this particular interface has come up. Now, it's very important we save these changes that we've worked so hard on. So to do this, we do a copy, running configuration to startup configuration. And that's the way in which we save our configuration of this particular device. Very cool. So R1 is configured, and guess what? If you like to practice new things, you're going to love it, because we're going to go over to R2 and we're going to practice over on R2 as well. And it's very much a similar configuration, right? It's really a mirror of the configuration. We do enable to get into the privilege mode. We do configure terminal in order to enter the global configuration mode. We're going to do our security. That was the enable secret password to protect privilege mode, and then go into line console 0, and we're going to set a password there and check that password at login. We're going to exit. We're going to go under the fast Ethernet 0/0 interface. We're going to say IP address 192.168.1.2 and then provide our mask. We're going to do our no shutdown command, and then we are going to make sure that the interface comes up. Excellent. Oh, we forgot to name our router. This is R2. All right, we're going to copy this configuration that we've worked so hard on, and then we never ever want to initially configure these routers or these switches without doing some verification, right? Very, very important. So let me verify everything that I've done. I'm going to exit the device. I'm going to hit return on the keyboard, and we should be prompted for the console password that we set. Excellent. And now I'm going to go into privilege mode, and we should be prompted for the privilege mode password that we set. Excellent. Now, do we have reachability between these two Cisco routers? Can they reach each other? Well, let's check it out. We're going to ping from R2 to R1 and see if we have reachability. Look at this. We do. All of the packets that we sent were responded to except for the first one. And this is not a need for an alarm. You see, that was a failure due to ARP, the address resolution protocol, had to go out on the network and figure out what MAC address coordinated to that IP address. If we do show IP ARP, we can see that there is now an ARP entry for the device that we were trying to ping. If we rerun our ping, sure enough, all of the packets succeed now. All are responded to within the appropriate timeout. So, folks, when it comes to the initial setup of your routers and switches, it's going to involve the commands that you just saw demonstrated. Let me show you one more kind of bonus command that we would do on one of these Cisco routers at this point. We set some passwords, and you do this on your switches as well, of course. We set some passwords, didn't we? And when you do a show run, you see something that's pretty disturbing. The enable secret password that we set up of Cisco, it did indeed get some encryption placed on it, so it doesn't show up here in the running configuration in clear text. But look at this. Down on our line console password, that does appear in that plain clear text. That is not a good thing at all. So what you can do to take care of that is you can enter global configuration mode, and you can use the command service password encryption. What this command does is it takes any of the passwords that would have displayed in clear text on your device, and it places an encryption on them. Notice it's weaker than MD5 encryption, which was used on the privilege mode password with enable secret. It's a weaker level 7 proprietary Cisco hashing that's done here, but at least it is better than displaying our password in clear text, as we saw a moment ago. So the initial setup of the Cisco router or the switch, very simple. We're doing things like giving the device a host name. We are setting passwords on the devices. We are going in and setting up interfaces for appropriate connectivity on the network.